Hello everybody, hope you guys enjoyed the daily. This is the outro video for it. This is not a rock deck. This is what I'm currently working on putting together, and it is the rock deck shifted into blue. Uh, SCG Minneapolis is coming up, and I'm looking to play something similar to this. A couple floater spots that are available. Not a very high blue count for Force of Will, but I'm pretty sure that most people will understand when I say it'll work out. I've tested this on paper or in real life a lot, and it has worked out pretty well. Um, Sideboard changes and stuff. I actually played this just before Mental Misstep became legal, and kind of switched back just after it got taken out. Um, Couple small differences like Misstep and Batter Skull, same set. Um, this got put up on paper, and these stifles actually switched to missteps for a small bit, and then I actually preferred stifle for a longer time and kind of kept it at that. The sideboard Thrun, because well, you have counterspells to back up like Edict effects, which is what the black deck is actually missing, and I don't have a way to just recur. There goes that. All right, so now that that's out of the way, I don't have a way to just overall recur and do every single little thing, so I mean, not really a big deal. Um, Lost my train of thought. Talking about Thrawn. Oh yeah, we can protect Thrawn, and we can also put him back up into our hand. Another thought was Sigarda, which would beat off. God, I need to pick new words. Which would beat the sacrifice effects, in addition to also being able to bounce her in case of any like board sweep. So being a 5/5 flyer, it's really hard for a lot of decks. But there are only 21 lands in this deck. Granted, there are 4 mana sources, so essentially you could look at it, if you look at each of these as being a half mana source, which is the approximation of what people assume you should count a 1 mana drop that produces a mana at. Um, so if you count it at that, it's again 23 lands, except for instead of having diamonds, you have these. So there is a singleton bird, and I am going to keep that there. I have this singleton bird simply because I want to be able to produce all colors. I want to be able to get this up to 4 if need be. Um, there are cards that cost 4 that you need to get rid of. So that is why that is there. Uh, let's see, let's take a look through the deck. We have Stifles because I feel Stifle is actually pretty powerful. It's very powerful against goblins. If you don't understand, take a look at what goblins actually do. Everything's a trigger. It is bad versus merfolk. If I'm going to play it against merfolk, I'm probably going to be using it on Silvergill Adepts and countering off that ability. Um, Swords, obviously, obvious removal. Singleton Goyf, again, you want that beater at this range, so yeah, it's there. Uh, Ooze and Pride Mage, again with the Green Sun Zenith package. I know, not a lot changed, did it? The more things change, the more they stay the same. 3 Stoneforge Mystic with the same package. The original list had sort of Body of Mind, and if you're wondering why Body of Mind, I should probably just explain this. My ranking of the swords in Legacy is Fire and Ice. Then in second place is a tie between Light and Shadow, Body and Mind. In third place is Feast and Famine. And in fourth place is War and Peace. And everybody is obsessed with Feast and Famine, but if you look at the decks, like, once their hand size goes down, yeah, I can keep their hand size reduced as long as that creature doesn't die. And I have counterspells and things like that to keep it alive. But who cares if their hand size goes down if they're not able to, or if they're actually doing things that are relevant, that matter. Whereas with Body and Mind, you were swinging through Goyf and leaving a blocker back, as well as providing an alternate win condition. It sucked when you played against another Knight deck. Even though you left the blocker behind, you made this thing gigantic. So it was something to think about. Typically, though, when I was bringing it in, it was actually against, what the heck is that deck called? Oh, Thopter Foundry, the Thopter Combos deck. Um, I can't remember its actual name, but it gave you an alternate win condition. If they got online, your Pride Mage is there, you could stifle the sword coming back, like you can do all these things, but eventually it will get another artifact. They will continue to go off, and you can't race that. Whereas with Body and Mind, milling is an actual option. I mean, you waste out their Academy ruins before you attack, you swing and hit them, and the game is over. So it was just something to think about. Days, I have days in this because I can go turn 1 Hierarch and daze your spell, and not exactly lose tempo. I still have openness to this section of my deck. Um, Singleton Jit, obvious for reasons there. With the Stoneforge Mystic, 3 Knights again instead of 4. A little bit easier to find them as Jace and Brainstorm are in the deck. Before with Bob and Knight, or sorry, Bob and Top and Library, you still have as good a chance of finding them. It's just that this is cost 1, and this is a repeatable use that's pretty much free, as well as a win condition. So that's why everybody says flock to blue, flock to blue. It's because you have this card and this card. And the reality of it is that this card, if it sees bad cards, is just draw 3, put 2 back, draw those 2 cards your next 2 turns. This is discard a card or get rid of a card, lose a life, and counter a spell, which is nice, but your hand size drops very quickly. You need to be able to you need to choose and with some type of discrimination in your selection off of what you're actually going to be countering. Um, yeah, going on from there. Vendalion Click. There is not so much online, but there are a lot of decks that play Show and Tell. And part of the reason they're not online right now is because Force of Wills are $100 a pop, and clicks are, or not, well, clicks are $20 a pop, and or a little bit more than that actually, I think. Show and Tells are up there as well. So I have clicks because it beats Show and Tell decks. You can ruin the Miracle decks. You take that Miracle out of their hand, and if you're not sure which one, you highlight the Miracle while you're looking at their hand, and it'll point right to it. So you just take that one, and suddenly they miracled, but they can't draw, or they can't play it. So it's a way around it. If they Show and Tell, you flash this out there, and you take whatever would be the thing that you can't deal with. If they've got Sneak Attack and Gristlebrand and Emrakul, and you've got Knight of the Reliquary in your hand, get rid of the Sneak Attack, make them draw another one. Up next we have Jace, who is Brainstorms 5 and 6, as well as alternate win condition and creature control. Really good against Mother of Ruins because you can try to bounce their mom, and if they let it up, then you don't have mom to deal with, and when they put it back down, you can swords it. If they do give it pro, you can give it swords. So yeah. Batterskull, alternate creature off of Stoneforge Mystic, Force of Will, obvious stopper, and 2 Green Sun Zenith because the creature package is actually pretty much the same as the last one, and we're not a dedicated Green Sun deck. If you want to play that, play Maverick. It is the best Green Sun Zenith deck out there, and that is just simply because it is built to abuse this. We are built to utilize it, but not abuse. We actually don't abuse anything. We just kind of grind everything out. So if you want to play a deck that has options in it, play this. If you want to play a deck that just grinds out, or that doesn't have options and just kind of like dirtles itself along, play either Rug or play Maverick. Either one work. Moving on to the board, EE. The Elves is a real deck. People put Goblin tokens into play. Sometimes you just need that sweeper. Flusterstorm and Spellpierce, put these two together. These are in against control and combo decks. Flusterstorm more so for combo. I mean, if somebody gets a storm of like 50 and they have no floating mana and you Flusterstorm back, they just look and they're like, okay, well, I guess I just did that all for nothing. Hopefully, though, you kind of stopped them before they got to that point, because if they're storming for 50, they probably have a way to make you get rid of this or make it irrelevant. So it's a way to take advantage of spells prior to. If you do have a Flusterstorm in hand, you can go ahead and keep all of your spells on the stack. So Daze your spell. Okay, my Daze is on. Force your spell. Okay, my Force is on. This your spell. And then you can Flusterstorm those copies, and suddenly it's like, okay, well, Flusterstorm is a Daze, so not so much there, but Force is like hard counter. If they don't have a hard way to deal with it, you're going to win. Spell Pierce more so for the early game stuff. Meddling Mage, against decks like Show and Tell and whatnot, very bad to Show and Tell into play, but if you put it into play and name Show and Tell, suddenly it gets a lot easier to play against just Sneak Attack, or force them to find something to deal with it than to not have it. Sower of Temptation is also for similar situations. It's a blue card that'll steal one of their creatures, and if their creature ever dies, it's really good with Jace. You bounce it back, you reuse it. A lot of people are using card name, Gilded Drake. And the reason they're using Gilded Drake is they're like, oh, well, I can submerge my Gilded Drake and get it back and do all this, that, and the other. Well, I'd just rather kill your creature. in reality. Like, I understand that costing 4 can be a little bit of an issue, but I figure that with 20, where is it? Oh yeah, that's right, no Mazewith. With 24 different mana sources, I can actually take advantage of that. There we go. Stick that off to the side. That was my last round opponent in our side chat. Apparently the link to my page isn't working for him. I will take a look in a second. Singleton Submerge. I don't like restricted removal, and this is very restricted in the sense that your opponent has to be playing a forest, and I have to have an island. So that means I have to be vulnerable to choke in some way, shape, or form, which if you count the island count, there are only 4 islands in the deck, so yeah, getting choked, not really that difficult to avoid. That also is a point against Daze as well, though, if you think about it. But that leaves decks that are available for this to Maverick and my deck, or well, I should say Rock, and that's because they're really the only decks that play green. So, well, Canadian Thresh plays green, so I guess it works there too. Graveyard Hate, Thrun because he's tutorable, and control decks will have just a difficult time with him as they will with Batterskull, and Tracker for the aggro decks. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. If you guys have any comments, concerns, questions, please go ahead and comment on this video. Other than that, I hope everybody enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I'll keep putting them up as long as you guys keep watching them. Have a good one. Bye-bye.